Danfel, the latest infantry hero in Call of Dragons, and we're going to be discussing obviously all the skills, pairings, and potential madness this hero could be coming into Call of Dragons. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't think he's just an infantry hero for some players out there, which could get certain, again, players super excited. So it's going to be a really interesting one. So Danfel, before we get into it, you can see, is a halfling, but he is representing very Belleron-like, Dwarven-like armor. So I do believe this is kind of us getting hinted at, guys, the Dwarf Faction is on its way. So we might get it during the next season, potentially, or the season after. That's my hopes within the next couple of months. If there is a faction, it is definitely looking like the dwarves are going to be. So I wonder what the fifth faction is going to be in Call of Dragons, but definitely the fourth one is confirmed, I would say, from the design of Danfel. So first things first, the skills. Let's break them down. First skill, 1600 skill damage factor and a 600 shield. There's nothing else to it. It's a nice basic skill. It has near range, and that's really important because that means for melee and certain ranged units, you're going to be able to use this, and you can see a common theme here because it is a legion-based skill. The next one is, again, well, in the field, the legion and friendly legions behind it gain a mercy. So this is the exact same buff as Tobin that has in the cavalry tree, right? Which is really nice. So this is a 20% reduced damage taken that he's going to gain, and anyone behind him is also going to gain. Now going into the third skill, easy as pie, probably the best, arguably, passive skills I've said in the first, impressions video. But I really want to emphasize that 20% HP and 10% defense. Whenever I see these stats on an infantry hero, I know they're going to be able to take a decent amount of damage, which is really good, really good. So I'm looking forward to seeing how good this guy is in the open field. And then to finish things off, the final skill, Halfling Fury. When the Legion casts Shield Strike, the target Legion gains Deliberated and Slow for 6 seconds. So basically what this means is as long as you're just casting this first skill onto a target, your Halfling Fury is going to trigger. And this triggers a 20% reduction and a 20% target damage taken bonus for 6 seconds. So if you are able to get around again with your your Danfel here, you might be able to get that extra damage. However, this is definitely set up for the deputy. So it definitely looks like Danfel wants to be a primary hero. And I do like the fact that before we go any further with the Awakening, you have infantry, PvP, and tank. So you can make him a really tanky hero with the infantry and tank tree, and it's going to be good as golden. So it's going to be interesting to see where we go with this hero. The Awakening skill for Danfel is an additional passive. So whenever dealing damage to a legion afflicted by that Halfling Fury, so anytime we are hitting people with Halfling Fury now, we add 1 extra second to the duration of the 2 debuffs, and this can only be triggered once every 2 seconds. So basically what this means is I believe you get between a 9 or 10 second uptime on it. That should definitely be enough for you to get your next raid cycle to hit it off again, meaning this is pretty much saying 100% uptime onto the targets. I'm just going to be honest with you. So this is a cracked hero, an absolutely cracked infantry hero. And the thing is, we're going to some infantry pairings first, and then we're going to do some spiciness when it comes to what I think he's really capable of. So obviously we've got our Danfel here, and we're going to showcase Mogro, right? And I'll put Mogro up more as a picture so we don't have to keep coming off and on here all the time. But Mogro would obviously be the go-to. These are kind of made together, as you can imagine. However, I do think Danfel has potentially some better matchups. So one of them is going to be, I would call, the boyfriend and girlfriend setup with Danfel and Nika. So Nika with Danfel is going to be disgusting because you're going to be doing a 1500 damage nuke with a 30% HP reduction onto those targets too, with obviously all the attack bonus and march speed to get there, and you're getting 20% counter attack damage and the hero skill damage bonus. Obviously your Danfel and Nika now getting bonuses on top of each other with the hero skill damage bonus and that 20% damage taken bonus for the Nika, right? And then if that target is below 50%, this bleed is going to do some major damage with your march, right? So I really think this is going to be a really powerful setup for a lot of players. I'm going to be real with you. Another really good potential candidate people have been talking about is Madlin. And I am going to be a little bit skeptical on it. I do think it could work really well. I don't know if I want to put Madlin primary or secondary, because the thing is, as you guys know, this 1200 shield factor is going to override the small 600 of Danfel, right? So it's really important to work out if we're going to have her in the secondary role. But if we do, our 20% damage taken bonus isn't really going to get much out of it apart from this skill damage factor here. So this is where I'm kind of not feeling too much on the Madlin, but it could potentially be something good, right? So we will try it out just for you guys, right? Alternatively, you could do obviously your standard healer. So if you want to try Gard, I don't think Gard wouldn't be an actual bad option either, because you gain a 20% damage taken reduction on your march, which is very, very powerful with a 1200 healing. And then what's really cool is obviously if you put Gard primary, and obviously you can guarantee this going through, obviously you gain that healing bonus, but the physical damage bonus is 30%. So maybe, you know, this could work, but again, when you're looking at certain skills over layering, you're getting a 20% bonus from the Danfel. Your Gard's going to give you 30% for 5 seconds. Is it going to work as well as people think? I honestly don't know, right? But the ones that honestly give me more pride and joy is stuff like Bakar. Again, Bakar with Nika is what I would go to as alternate choices for our Danfel with infantry if you're not going for Mogro, right? So that's that gone and done and dusted, right? Now, the next set of commanders, because the thing is, if we go back and if you're wondering how to get access to these heroes, I'm going to just showcase as I'm going through, right? You can go to the emoji section and just hit your little go button, boom, and you're able to enter it, right? So one thing you'll notice again with Danfel when we're going to the next hero pairings is he has an insane 1600 damage factor to a single target legion. It's on near. So in theory, if you're Spring Wardens, this would work with ranged cavalry or normal cavalry as well. And that is kind of where we're going to lean into in this second part of the video, why Danfel is actually a really interesting infantry commander, because he's a good infantry command for damage dealing, and he's taking a decent amount of damage with his stats. But at the same time, he has technically four insane skills, all for Cavs as well. So you're going to nuke someone for 1600 damage and get that 600 shield on basically turn 1 if you put Danfel as your primary hero, and you'd run a PvP tank tree for this if you're running cavalry. And then what's insane is if you think about how cavalry run, if you can make your Danfel march, if you run like Danfel Emrys, for example, just to keep a super insane rage accumulation speed, you could allow this Danfel with some extra march speed, right, to be in front. And if he's in front, if you're running 3 or 4 cavalry marches, right, all of them are gaining this range damage resistance as they all enter together, basically, in the open field. And that is actually really powerful, because you got to think, if you're entering with this buff on, you're basically taking less damage as you're entering the battlefield, which is going to allow your calves to do even more burst at the get-go. So it's really important to imagine how a cavalry player could play and how this is so good for actually cav playstyle. The only skill you have to replace, especially if you're doing like mastery skills, if it's going to be in a future season, is this one. It's only the stats of the infantry, right? And it is upsetting it's all in, but it's the only way to balance it out. But I think cavalry players will happily lose that, knowing that they're able to get a 20% target damage taken bonus and that march speed reduction onto targets. Because that means, again, if Danfel is primary, whoever is the deputy cavalry behind him is going to absolutely do some monstrous damage to that target. On top of then, you've got all the other cavalries now following up with their unshielding rushes. It's broken. It seems broken to me, right? Especially when you can add Rune of Dissolve on top. So if you're looking at Danfel as a cavalry hero, honestly, there's so many good options for him, and that's what's terrifying, right? you could run Alistair as a super free-to-play friendly march. This is going to allow him to have a 600 damage factor, 20% counterattack damage reduction against potentially the archer players with good counterattack damage, right? You're also gaining the 10% stats, which is obviously nice to negate. And then you're getting 30% hero skill damage bonus when you're fighting above, 50%, which is basically going to substitute just in case you don't have up the 20%, right? You're going to have the 20% on the trigger from Danfel, then it's going to fall off. A normal attack could then trigger both of these, which is amazing. Again, kind of if you want to keep rage cycling, then on icing on the cake, you get less damage and just dealing more damage. So I'm just going to be real with you. On top of all of this, obviously we've got your Forends, we've got Emrys, which I think is going to be a monster. Same with even Bakshi, right? Bakshi seems really good. Even Theodore, really powerful here because you're doing a 30% reduction with a 1400 damage nuke. You're gaining a defense bonus of 30% and that march speed, which is really nice. And then the Coup de Grace is really good as well. 20% hero skill damage as you're getting these buffs. Like, boys, you're going to absolutely melt players with these heroes, right? So with that, I want to mention one final potential candidate for our Danfel. And this could be for infantry or cavalry too, because this matchup could be absolutely disgusting because of the brand new Moon Bear, right? And this is going to be Urag. I already mentioned it in my last video talking about Urag, that he could be potentially one of the best AoE infantry heroes if you're going for a damage spec build. This is because, again, you're going to have that 1600 damage factor plus a splash of 300. You're getting 10% again on the damage dealt bonus. And as you enter the battle, you're taking less damage, which is crazy. If you're Cav, you're getting a ton of steroids, right? Which is really good. If you're infantry, you're going to lose it. But then you're getting the HP bypass and, again, 10% rage accumulation speed. So this hero for Danfel could be absolutely cracked. Again, maybe with Morag, it could be absolutely cracked. We don't know until someone might have both of these heroes fully awakened and can actually fully limit test how good these are. So I did want to mention Urag as a hero pairing for our Danfel, right? When it comes to your artifact choices, imagine the brand new shield. I will put the brand new shield just on screen here. It's going to be one of the best ones you can obviously go for this march. If you're not going for that though, which is really powerful for, again, Danfel, Dragon Scale Armor. You're going to get over 50% HP, 7.5% obviously damage taken and dealt reductions when you have this level 5. But what's really good about the Boon Shield on this is you're getting a 3900 shield, making you super tanky, right? This obviously goes on to 3 other marches. It's also giving you 10% attack, meaning you do even more damage. But then you also gain a range resistance because your range skill gives you a shield. So you can easily go back in time and use Dragon Scale Armor. So you don't even need the brand new one. And this could make him super tanky on the battlefield, which I cannot wait to try myself out with, right? Another honorable mention, I would honestly say, is going to be Greymar's Warhammer. I think this is going to be a really good choice for him again. Just being able to get in there with high defense, so you're not taking as much damage, getting in, stunning everyone, and being able to potentially get a second rage cycle off as well. Really powerful potential choices for infantry. If you're a Cav guy, I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't know what to recommend. I'm not a main Cav guy, but I would imagine stuff like Spring Blades is kind of like your go-to, or even Storm Arrows. So when you go in, you get that Rampage trigger for the damage dealt bonus, and then he hits like a truck. Then he basically applies the buff for the Deputy, and they hit like a truck, right? So, Danfel, guys, what a hero. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the description below in the comment section, if you like him or not. Do you think I've done a good job explaining his kit and the potential pairings for this hero in the infantry and the cavalry choices due to his kit and obviously the range that he has and burst potential for a commander? And if you've enjoyed it, smash a like, comment, and subscribe. You know the deal. And my name, till this day, is MrSneakyy. So until the next one, stay safe, stay sneaky, guys, and peace out.